that were granted and, and then refundable, because I can understand also having an administrative fee, not everyone's going to be approved, and if you haven't done your homework ahead of time, we wouldn't want the village to cover the cost of individuals who are applying for something that, but we would want to reward those that were going to have a big impact.
Do you want an motion?
I mean, that's in the fee schedule, or is that something we?
That's not before us.
Yeah, I was going to say that I would, but I don't.
You can
I'm just saying. We can address this when we address the fee schedule, which is coming up.
I was going to say the department fee schedule is.
Okay.
It wasn't discussed, but
This fee was reduced. It was substantially higher. It was cut back. And the planning commission has been dealing with this issue for a number of years, because there's a balance there of protecting the neighbors, and this at least preserves the process. You get some large solar installation and glare and other, so it provides some framework for protection of the neighbors and yet speeds the process along and allows for administrative review.
so this conditional use permit fee is less than a typical conditional use permit fee. So to Trustee Maher's point, this one's $75. A typical conditional use permit is $125. So there already was a reduction on this one, understanding the desire to, have them within the village. But there also was an understanding of the need to redo it. So that was the balance at the time. That's just the historical perspective of what we're at.
What's the fee for electrical permit?
Minimum $60. So it depends on the number of fixtures and the size of the installation, but so it'd be minimum $60 fee for installation. And it's already pretty difficult.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Okay. Roll call?
Yep.
Roll call.
Trustee Menton. Aye. Trustee Maher.
Aye.
Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Carpenter. Aye. Trustee McDade. Aye. President Rosen.
Aye. Okay, thanks so much, Mark. Motion carries. Next, we took them out of order, so the next would be... Okay. So the next we'll open up a public hearing for the Village of Shorewood's 2019 budget. It's item 7B. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this agenda item? Okay, so I just close this right. Okay. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. We had opened it at 8:06 and we're closing it at 8:07. So the next item on our agenda is new business and, citizens staff presentation. Staff presentation under public hearing? Doesn't make sense. It makes no sense, but okay. We will have staff presentation on the budget.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's odd, it fell under the heading of public hearing.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I think traditionally we've always felt beneficial before the public engagement during public hearing, and notwithstanding how it was agendized, is just to really give, for the record, a real nice high-level view of the budget. The budget itself is attached in the materials, but sometimes that might be a little intimidating to parse through. So, 50-50, tough. Again, high level, we've got our primary funds, general fund, special revenue funds, debt service capital, and enterprise funds. We've got a number of resolutions that are coming up later tonight, both for a tax levy, for the specials that will go to the tax levy, a number of resolutions related to the budget on fees and contracts. So we've got hopefully 95% of all those interrelated items before the board tonight. One of the things that I'd like to share is that the village portion of the tax bill is really only about 28% of the total tax bill, and that there is a lot of impact from other taxing jurisdictions when residents receive their tax bill in a few weeks here. So this is kind of how that breaks down with the school district. It's about 42% MATC 6%, county about 18%, 5% for MMSD, and then the state actually has dropped off. I don't know why that's still showing at 1%, but just a general indication of how the tax bill is broken down. So when you get the tax bill, please remember it's not all going to the village for our operations.
Do you know
Wait,
the,
can you go back?
yeah, do you know what each tax and jurisdiction raised this year? Like,
Yeah, that'll be the second last slide.
Trustee Blackburst, did you have a question?
No, you just asked if you go back to the budget.
One of the things that staff has always tried to work with in conjunction with the village board is for the village to manage their tax levy increases over time. Notwithstanding the big blip there, which was caused from a technical issue back in 2011 and one of the assessors reporting, you can see that our average tax levy increase over the past 10 years has been 1.63%. So I think that that speaks favorably to the board's ability to achieve that long-term managed growth of the village's tax levy. It was brought up a little earlier tonight for those who are in attendance with the school discussion. The village also has committed a lot of resources to putting the infrastructure in, making improvements throughout the community in the last 10 to 15 years. As a result, about 16% of our tax levy will go for debt service on those improvements. The remaining 84% is for general operations and capital. For just the village tax operations and capital, the increase was 0.6%. We expect that to be about $7.63 per thousand, and actually I apologize, that's an outdated number. No, $7.63 per thousand, which is $16.30 on the bottom bullet point per household. That's it, right? Here's an outline of our village's revenue sources, and as we can all see, the village relies heavily on property taxes. 70% of all of our revenues derived from property taxes. We do get some intergovernmental revenue in the form of state aid, so it's 11%, and then a few smaller slices of the pie from the other sources of local permits and licenses, different fines or charges for services being provided by the village. Intergovernmental revenues this year are expected to decrease by about 4.2%, or about $58,000, as state transportation rates did fall in 2019. We all hope that those will pick back up next year, and that will provide a little relief as we look towards the 2020 budget. Expenditures is the other side of the coin, per se. So the pie chart kind of shows by function where the predominant level of expenditures are within the community. 33% of all municipal expenditures go to police and court services. 27% go to other public safety. That's your North Shore Fire Department and communications services. 23% to public works, 11% to general government, and a couple of slivers for those other categories. Total expenditures for the village increased by 1.1%. So that plus the various revenue offsets is how we come up with the tax levy needed to make up the difference. Staff salaries did decrease this year by 1.9%, or $76,024, which is staffing reduction, as well as an increase in unfunded staff positions anticipated due to various staff turnovers in the upcoming year. There was an increase of fringe benefits, And other governmental payments increased by 3.9%, or $119,000. And those payments relate to our fire and dispatch services. It's really the biggest budget changer this year.
Can I ask a question? Didn't our health go up 8%? How did our fringe benefit costs only go up 0.6? Because I thought our health care costs went up 8% something.
Right, there was a staff reduction as well as some enrollment changes in our health insurance, which helped mitigate that increase in the actual premium costs. One of the other perspectives that the village tries to express is, what would these services cost an average homeowner if it were put in the context of a monthly bill, like you would get for cable services or internet or any other monthly service. So we provide this information: police department, fire services, public works, debt service. Those are the equivalent monthly costs for the typical home, which we designate at $300,000 in value. So just to add a context here for how the village spends the money. Sometimes the big numbers when you get into multi-millions can be hard to quantify. So we hope to find that helpful. And again, this is all in the materials. I'm just kind of keep going. We do have a number of special revenue funds. The library fund budget is a little over $1 million. 2019 budget, the increase funded by property taxes is 3.7%. As you can see, 87% of the library's budget is funded by property taxes. So any increases in costs typically have to be made up with property taxes. So of that 3.7% cost increase, 3.3% of that was covered through property taxes. Our Elder Services Fund, which accounts for the activities in our Senior Resource Center, had $196,307 of expenditures. 55% of that is funded through property taxes, and then the remaining is funded through user fees, and a significant portion through the William Benjamin Trust Fund that supports those operations on an annual basis. Shorewood Today Fund, just short of $90,000 of expenditures. 80% of that is funded in advertising fees as of the time the budget was presented. Other funding for Shorewood Today includes contributions from the Shorewood School District, the Business Improvement District, Community Development Authority, and the village in nominal amounts. Here's our debt service fund. It is special revenue. Again, special revenue means that funds put there can only be used for those purposes. Total expenditures just over $5 million. Of that, $2.8 million is supported by our TIF districts. That's the redevelopment that you've been seeing within the community in the last 8 to 10 years. So those major projects. The tax levy portion of debt service is being managed by the village to limit that increase to 5% per year, or $87,286 in 2019. Any additional increases in the needs for debt service is being funded through general fund reserves, which the village has accumulated over a number of years. So we're, again, trying to manage the tax levy growth for the community.
Mark, what was the total percentage? We talked about this before. So we do 5% from the tax levy, but what was the rest of the percentage being subsidized? So what would have been if we didn't subsidize, what would have that percentage be of debt to our operating budget, whatever that number was?
You could maybe deduce it from this, I haven't calculated that, I'm sorry. We do have a slide here that shows the red line, which is the amount that the tax levy is supporting, but total debt service payments are higher, so that gap is being funded. So
I think it was like 22%.
2.1 million out of, whoops. It would be about 7.5%, just quick math. It's probably buried in the budget document somewhere.
Total? So 7% is?
I believe so, something. It's a little challenging to do quick analysis right here. The village also maintains multiple capital funding initiatives to maintain their infrastructure, as well as to support various municipal initiatives. In 2019, these are the projects that are scheduled to occur.